Like today, kids in the 1930s often needed to make their own fun, and this usually meant getting out of the house and finding adventure wherever you could.
There was a big tunnel open next to the post office where I lived, and children would often go in and out the entrance, and if you had matches or any torch matches mostly, half a dozen of us would go down and see how far we could walk down it. It was a bit spooky and lots of spiders, but if you ran quickly they didn't really worry you. If people emptied their bath or water came down, you had to run pretty quickly. People only had one bath a week, so it wasn't often you struck any water.
But once we got down Parkins Reef, on the Newstead Road there, well, a lot of boys around down there. We went to school with them and whatever, but we used to go out to bush rabbiting there, which was on the fringe of the outskirts, and we'd go out and get a rabbit or two. Well, that would consolidate the pantry for a little bit and keep us going. We used to go fishing in the South German Dam down there.
When I was young, I used to go ferreting with my brothers. I had 3 brothers close to me, and we always used to go ferreting together and catch rabbits and skin them. The meat went to the dogs and we sold the skin to get pocket money, and we walked miles and miles carrying rabbits and nets and ferrets and everything, but it was a wonderful life and we really enjoyed it. We did a lot of fishing, and so did my brothers, and at that time, whenever you went down the river you could get a nice cod. There was a lot of good fish there, and mainly the men fished with lures, but we only fished with small bait. But it was not unusual to catch a fish, it was natural to do it really. There were some very deep waterholes along the river at that time.
Most children love lollies, and those who lived in Maldon and Baringhup in the 1930s were no exception, as our senior storytellers will tell you.
We used to meet up with a mob of friends and we'd play hide and seek around the street, but before we did that our weekly allowance was threepence. And we'd go down to Miss Hockey, who had the lolly shop in the street, and she used to have lovely big jars of lollies, so we'd pick out, well, we could get fruit chocks or silver sticks or licorice blocks, or a Freddo frog was only a penny in those days. Well, by the time you got threepence worth of lollies, you had a nice little bag of lollies, and that kept you going while you're playing hide and seek around the street.
If I set the table at home and wiped up regularly and made my bed and did a few other little things, I would get threepence a week when I was about 10. And I would go down the street to Miss Hockey's, and you could get quite a lot of lollies for a halfpenny even. You could get, I think, 10 aniseed balls. And my mother really liked aniseed balls, so she'd get back some of the things she gave me. We'd go to Miss Hockey's down there and take quite a while picking out all the lollies to put in our bags and take back home and eat.
Well, Sunday, it was always after lunch we went to church, and we always went to Sunday school on the horses for half an hour before the church service, and the family always came later on. And in Baringhup there was a general store, and when we went to go to church we always went over on the horses and spent half our collection money on sweets, because it was such a novelty those times to get a sweet. And it sounds funny now, but it was a little bit naughty.
Once upon a time in the Maldon and Baringhup district, there were many schools, including those at Tarrangower, Baringhup West and Nuggety. In the 1930s, most kids went to the Maldon or Baringhup state schools. There's schools like St Bridget's near the hospital, and the Porcupine Flat State School was still open.
My brother and I, we were twins, and we started school when we were 6. We used to walk into Maldon right up to St Bridget's, up near the hospital. and walk home